Hello, this is Roy Canterbury here. I'm going to be your host on Archery Talk today. And what we're going to talk about today is what you need to know buying your first bow. Uh, Make sure you get the right one, things that you need to know, things that you need to watch out for so that you get your first one and you know you're getting what you really want and what you need. One of the first things that I would talk about is um, why do you want to get into archery? Is it one of those where you watched Hunger Games and you thought shooting a bow was cool and wanted to try it? Is it something that you did when you were a kid and wanted to pick it up again? Uh, there's all kinds of reasons. Uh, maybe you watched Olympics and that inspired you, or you just uh, wanted to do some shooting, wanted something a little different, and then you just kind of figure out what your why is. There's no wrong answer, so think about what it is that you want to do. What do you get out of it? What do you want to get out of it? I'm talking faster than what I can. My thinking and talking doesn't always match sometimes, but yeah, that's the first thing one knows why you want to pick up archery. It could just be because you got some friends that are doing it, and you'd like to do it with them. There's all kinds of reasons why you want to do it, and that's a personal one, what you want to do. But that leads you into the next question: is what type of archery do you want to do? You have recurves, longbows, compound bows, crossbows. Uh, all kinds of different options you have in the archery field. Pretty much, I consider archery time you take a stick and fling it with a string. I kind of call that archery. Uh, there's a lot of them that use the compound bows. I do my hunting with a compound bow. I do have a recurve. I shoot it completely different. It's a different type of equipment. When I use my compound, I'm looking for sights and everything else. When I shoot my recurve, I just focus on the target. More of an instinctive shooter where you focus on the targets and you go through that. You kind of develop your body muscles to do it. Do you want to do um, Olympic style archery? That's a little bit different. The equipment's a little bit different for that. Those a lot of recurves, but they're a little bit different. They use sights on a lot of the Olympic events. They're close range and long range. There's all kinds of different stuff there. Uh, do you want to not have the? They all take a lot of practice. But I do think the recurves and longbows do take a little more practice because you're shooting those without sights. So now you have to develop your eye-hand coordination and figure out what you want to do with that. Compounds still take a lot of practice to get really good at it, but you just once you get the hang of it, you can be decent with it without too much work. Of course, you want to take it to the next level and really be good with it. It does take a lot of practice, and the appropriate type instruction coaching is always good when you're having when you're trying to take your archery skills to the next level. So that's one of the things you need to decide, uh, and that's how your why will go into why do you want to do it and what interests you, and that'll help you pick out your bow. And then as far as picking out the bow, what you want to look at is there's several things you want to look at, and what a lot of people don't realize is eye dominance makes a lot of difference. When you take and um, shoot a bow with the non-dominant eye, there's a lot of things that go wrong. And a lot of people think that if you're right-handed, you're right eye dominant. If you're left-handed, you're left eye dominant, and that's not always true. I've seen that many times. One place I was working had a set of twins come in. One was right-handed, the other was left-handed. The right-handed was left eye dominant, and the left-handed was right eye dominant. So you can never really tell. You need to check that dominance. And one of the ways that we can get into, there's a lot of things on checking eye dominance. That's something that you might want to know when you're going in to get your first bow is what is your dominant eye. And one easy way to do it is to extend both your arms out and make like an L with one hand and an L with the other hand, and then you hold them out and you make a little bitty circle in between there. You can see through there. You take a target off at a distance, and with both eyes open, you bring it up right in the middle of your face. Bring it up, and then close your left eye. If you can see what you're looking at, you're right eye dominant. If you close your right eye and you can see it, you're left eye dominant. And what you can see is you close the opposite eye. One you can see it, the other one you don't. if you were using the wrong eye, that's how far you'd be off at that range. So you can easily see that at 20 yards, you can easily be off by several feet on missing your target if using the wrong eye dominance. And I had a friend of mine that was right-handed, and before I got involved in this, he'd went out and got a right-handed bow and was shooting it. And I noticed one time that he was kind of cocking his head over, trying to use his left eye to see through it, and he wasn't hitting anything at all. It was just really off. Um, he couldn't really group anything. So we checked, and sure enough, he was left eye dominant. Put him a left-hand bow, and you'd be amazed at how tight them groups got just almost immediately just by using the correct dominant eye. And that goes to a lot of eye dominance and a lot of eye-hand coordinations, even as much as playing pool. If you're right eye dominant trying to shoot left-handed, you're not going to line up down the cue to the hit the cue ball into the whatever ball or whatever you're going to do. And so that's an important part there. And if you don't know what that is, or you're not comfortable checking it, is make sure wherever you go that you go into them and they ask you that. If they don't ask you that, they really don't know what they're doing, or they just don't care enough to make sure you're getting the right bow. So don't be surprised if you go in and somebody checks your eye dominance and it's opposite what you write with. That's not an unusual thing. So you want to make sure that that's important part. That's the first step you want to do is your eye dominance. Then the other thing you got to look at too is your draw length. Uh, Most people that just kind of go pick out a bow someplace and go, their draw length's too long. One good sign of your draw length's too long is if your string is smacking your arm, your draw length's too long. Uh, that's almost 100% the cause of smacking your arm, unless you're taking and twisting your arm and cocking your wrist or something, and that's going to force it to hit. But if you're holding it right, then uh, you're not going to be smacking your arm. And now the recurve shooters, it's that sometimes they'll wear an arm guard because they'll get a slap up towards the wrist. If you're getting up more towards your elbow, in the meaty part of your arm, that's a sign that your draw length's too long because your arm's stretched out and it puts that muscle in the way. And you get that hit once or twice, and you'll not want to shoot, or you'll learn to shoot it correctly. So that's the other thing you want to do is make sure you get the right draw length. And one way to get the right draw length is there's something that you can do at home before you go. Is just have somebody with you, hold your arms out to the side, and put your palms forward, and have somebody measure from the tip of your middle finger to the tip of your middle finger, and then take that number and divide by 2.5, and that's going to give you your initial draw length. And I know when I started, I thought it was a 32-inch draw length, and I shot that way for a long time. And I actually went to a class to learn how to shoot, and they said, "Oh, you're supposed to be 29.5." And so before the class, it was like a 3-day training, and it was fairly expensive. So you're going to do what they say, just because it don't do any good if you don't abide by what the coaches say. It's like you're shooting 2.5 inches too long a draw length, and that might account to why I was smacked my clothes and had all kinds of other problems and wasn't consistent. And so I was 29.5. So I got my bow changed down to 20.5 for the second class, and I'm shooting, and it's like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And then eventually, shooting enough, just staying with it, it's like, oh, I like this. Now I shoot 29, a little shorter. And nice thing about the shooting the 29, just that half inch shorter, is if in wintertime I'm wearing a big heavy coat, I still don't hit the coat. Where before with the longer ones, you'd hit your coat and throw your arrow off. I've had arrows thrown off by several feet at 10 yards. I've had arrows go off, by 3 or 4 feet just by smacking your arm, because you don't know where it is. Or sometimes it goes low, high, all over the place. You just don't know where they're going to go. So that's why draw length's important. If you don't have anybody that helps you with it, when you get to the store, they should be able to measure your draw length. And you should have a little bend in your arm when you're at full draw. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that gets checked. And that's two of the important parts that they're going to check. If they're not checking those for you when they're setting it up, I would probably either go to somebody else there or go to a different place. Lots of times when you go to like your big box stores, sometimes you'll have people that know what they're doing and they can help you out. But if you go to like some of the chain stores, you may luck out have somebody. You may have somebody that just works there because it's a job. They don't know what they're doing. They're just selling equipment. Other places will try and sell you whatever they make the most profit on. So you want to make sure that your draw length is correct, because that'll definitely help in setting up your bow for you. The third item you want to look for is your draw weight. Uh, you've probably seen, you may just check on some videos I've seen where these guys try and pick up this bow and it's way too strong for them, and they finally get it back, and then the arm holding the bow gives away, and the bow comes back and smacks them in the face. Um, they get that idea they can draw more than what they can shoot, and I've seen small guys shooting 70 pounds, and a great big football player can't even pull it back because you're using different muscles. So the draw weight's important. You can always build them up. So you want to be able to comfortably draw it back without struggling. A lot of your bows nowadays have a fairly large amount of draw length and draw weight adjustment. So always start out. You can always get a little bit heavier ones if you need to, but if you start out too heavy to start with, uh, you're just going to struggle and struggle and struggle. I know my first bow was 52 pounds, and I took it out hunting, and I was able to take a full length arrow, a heavy arrow, and was able to get my first deer. I was about 20 feet up in the tree and 40 yards away, and that arrow just about clean went through it. And that's at 52 pounds. Now I shoot 70, but I haven't shot for a while, so I might have to crank it down just so that I can get back into shape. But I can go down 10 pounds on my bow. Some bows you have a little bit more than that, and some not. So you want to look at that. Make sure that if you can't comfortably pull it back, it's too much draw weight. You're not going to enjoy shooting, and that's the whole reason. Is you're going to enjoy shooting, and you want to make sure that you have the right draw weight so that you can have fun. Because if you're struggling, you're going to be sore, and then you're not going to want to pick it up the next day. The key is you need to do lots and lots of shooting, and that's the thing that you want to look at. Now, speaking of draw weight, though, you have compounds and recurves and longbows. They develop their weight a little bit differently. Your compounds, the advantage of those is as you draw back, it gets harder and harder and it starts letting off. They call it let off. Some are 70% let off, some are 6% let off, some even have 80% let off. So you're holding only 80% of the total draw weight. And that does give it a little more advantages in holding. You should draw it back and hold it, because compounds you normally draw back, and you may hold it for a while you're aiming, and make sure everything is all going through your whole shot process. If you're out, say you want to do hunting, which isn't required for archery. A lot of people just shoot paper targets, and that's what they like to do. I like to shoot the 3D targets because I use that for hunting, and I use the target shooting just to develop my skills. But your recurves and longbows, they develop different. As you further you pull it back, the harder it gets. Most of the bows are rated at 28-inch draw length, and that's what the bow is rated at. So for every inch you pull back further that or less than that, you're adding about 3 pounds. So like a 40-pound bow, for me at 28 would be 40 pounds, but I'm pulling it back another inch, so I'd actually have a 43-pound bow. And you're going to draw back to those. You're not going to hold a long time because you're holding that whole weight. And so you're going to draw back, get your anchor point, and complete your shot process. And that's another whole segment on just how to shoot each of the different bows, your recurves, your long bows, and compounds. Crossbows is a little bit different story on that one. But we'll get into that in a later one. Now, I kind of mentioned a little bit on that is where to go buy it. That's your big thing. So you can go on the internet and buy a bow. They may say that that's only been shot a few times. I actually looked at one that was listed. I don't remember if it was in a Craigslist or wherever it was. And I looked at it, being, an archery tech, I can spot things that others don't. And the ad said it was only been shot a few times. The string was worn out. So that's it needs a new string, and that can easily be one of those that uh, you have. Uh, you could have $150 just in strings and cables on a bow that you just got. You thought you saved all this money, and yet you didn't really save any money because now you're spending more money just to get it going, and that's something you want to look at. One thing you look at when you're looking at a used bow is if it's a black string, it should look black and shiny. If it's white and fuzzy, the string is worn out and it has to get replaced. Because what's going to happen is that if that string breaks on you, on a recurve, compound bow, or whatever, if the string breaks, you can have big catastrophic failures where your limbs break and everything else. You can bend axles just by dry firing them. And that's the thing here is just a little safety thing here is you never draw back a bow and release it unless you have an arrow in it. So I've seen guys put a release aid on there and draw them back. It's like, well, I'm not going to pull the trigger. Yeah, well, yeah, it's easy to touch that trigger and it goes off. And the next thing you know, you have a bow that's in pieces. Some bows will take it. Most of them won't. There are some that are designed to be able to do that. But you're looking at, last time I seen one of those, I believe it was Hoyt made one, but they were pushing $2,000 for the bow. Uh, that's not a beginner bow. You don't want to be going in high-end bows. We'll get into some of that a little bit later, but you can buy on the internet. Sometimes you can get really good prices, but if it's not the draw length and the weight that you can shoot, and if you don't know what your draw length is and don't know anything about them, or even know how to change it, because some are easy to change. Some you have modules you have to take out and change, some of the older ones. So new ones, you just take a couple screws out and move a module. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually cause problems down the line. So that's one there. Craigslist, those you can actually go look at them, and if it fits you, then that could be a good way to do it. But you don't know what's going on with it. The person selling it may not know anything about it. May not be their bow. They might be selling it for somebody else. Or if you're lucky, you can get somebody that knows what they're doing and they just got a new one. Because some of the archers, will get new bows every couple of years. Uh, I don't because I like keeping the same ones. Bow I hunt with, I got in like 2001, and I still hunt with that one. I've got some other ones newer than that, but not much newer. I think my newest one is probably 2003, something like that. But they'll last you for a long time. So it's a lifetime investment. Uh, I had some of the other ones that I've gotten and upgraded. Uh, they're just there. So uh, then the next option is to go to like your big box stores, like Cabela's, Bass Pro, uh, Shields, Dick's. There's probably a whole bunch of other ones. Um, I know there's Gander Mountain. There's probably a whole bunch of them. They're big chains. They're not really a pro shop. They may have a pro shop part in it. They may or may not have somebody who knows what they're doing. And that's what I alluded to a little bit earlier. You want to make sure that whoever you're going to knows what they're doing and can teach you how to shoot it. I know when I had my store, a part of purchasing a bow, even if it's the low end $150, $200 brand new bow, you got shooting instructions. I taught you how to shoot because my thought was if I teach you how to shoot, you're gonna have more fun and you're gonna come back and buy more arrows, maybe upgrade your sight, maybe upgrade your release a little bit better, and then at some point we're gonna upgrade to the higher quality bows. There's some features in the higher end bows that you're gonna get that you won't have in the lower end bows. Uh, but I always start off like new archers. I always recommend them buying the lower end bow. Don't go spend all the money. If you decide you don't like the sport, do you want a $300 bow sitting in the closet or $1,000 bow sitting in the closet? That's one of those. Yeah, what do you want? If you don't like the sport, you're not getting much out of the bows. You can pretty much figure that by the time you outfit and everything, you might get three-fourths of what you paid for it. If you've what you paid for the bow, and that when you have a case, you have arrows, you might have releases, all kinds of other stuff. You decide you don't like it, uh, you're not going to get your money back out of it. So you just start off with the lower end bows. get um, get in there. If you like the sport, it's something that you really want to do, then stay with it, and then eventually you'll upgrade to know it. And as far as the best place I think you can to recommend going without knowing exactly who's in them is go to the pro shop. It's that's all they do is sell archery equipment. They don't sell anything else. They're just their main focus is archery. Uh, they might have other things in there. They might sell pet food because a lot of archers are also hunters, and yeah, they might have other things, but their main thing, you can tell it a lot of times in the name, it's whatever archery shop or something like that. So go to the pro shops. They're going to know how to set up the bow correctly, because that's part of the deal is getting them set up. If you buy it off of the internet or buy the parts, put it on yourself, do you know how to set it up to get the bow shooting optimally? And the pro shops will know how to do that. Uh, Now, fortunately, when I was working at a couple of the stores, I worked at Bass Pro and Cabela's both, and we had a really good crew at both those stores in my area. We had between the four of us when I was at Bass Pro, we probably had uh, probably close to 100 years, 75 to 100 years worth of experience setting up all kinds of bows. We knew how to set them up. And then I moved on to Cabela's, and one of the guys that was Bass Pro, he moved on with me. And so, in this area here, we happen, in eastern part of Nebraska, western part of Iowa is where he was at. We had people in here that knew what was going on, how to set up bows, and how to teach people how to shoot. And, that was kind of not the norm. I've seen other places. Sometimes you go and talk to them, and, when I go around different places, I go in and I like tuck archery, so I'll go in and talk to them. And sometimes I find some guys like they don't have a clue. I know when I first started at Cabela's, the guy that was in charge of the archery department I was teaching him first day there. I was teaching him stuff because he didn't know. He was just put in that position. They had nobody there that knew what was going on. But by the time I left, we had one of the guys that come over from the other archery store. We knew what's going on, and he was running the department, and I'd moved on to other things, and so we had some good knowledge there. But that's kind of out of the normal of what you're normally going to see from your box stores. That's why pro shops are generally your best bet if you don't know what you're doing. Once you get going, you know what you're doing, and you want to upgrade your sight, and you know how to install it and set the pins, which you should learn how to do anyway. Buy your new sight, upgrade your sight, put it on your bow yourself. You don't need to go in a pro shop to do anything like that. Setting up a rest, now that might be a little different story, because there's a lot to setting up a rest and setting up correctly to get your optimum shooting. And that's kind of the main things I wanted to go over in this here is what you need to look at going and getting your first bow. That's where if you don't do that right, you can have problems down the line. You're not going to have a bow that don't fit you. And after all, it's like, why are you wanting to shoot archery? Well, for me, I think it's a lot of fun, going out and shooting, and it helps you relax, because one thing with shooting archery, if you're not relaxed, you're going to struggle with it. And later, we'll go over some of that in some of the other ones. I don't want to make these too long. We're pushing about 25 minutes now, and I want to keep this down to around 30 minutes, just as an introduction to it. And I'm going to be putting together a little buyer's guide, and I'll link into how you can get that. I have a Facebook group I started, Archery Talk, and I'll put a link to getting into that into the description, so you can go in and join that. And it's not real. It's a private group. It's going to be just a couple simple questions. Are you new to archery? Yes or no. Doesn't matter how you answer. And then an email address so I can send you a copy of the PDF, the little buyer's guide. It'll kind of go over what I went over here, and you maybe can fill out some of these things. It's like, oh yeah, I know what my eye dominance is. I'm right eye dominant or left eye dominant. I know what my draw length should be in that range. Now on that draw length, that number that I give you, where you take your wingspan divided by 2.5, that's a starting point. I have found that most people aren't longer than that. I've found several that are normally to be less than that. and depends on where you're at. Sometimes arm lengths are all different. Some people have real long arms and some have real short arms, and uh, compared to everybody else, everybody's body's different, so everyone's a little bit different, and it all just depends. That's just where you need to know. So I'll put a link into the to join the group, and you'll get a copy of the buyer's guide. You can fill that out and know what you're going to do, and then you can always keep that down as, okay, what bow did I buy and what rate was, what was it set for. You can even put a log into, it's like, okay, what arrows they use. And that's the other thing, is like, you get the proper arrows. They need to be spined to what you're shooting, and they'll have a chart on that. That's where you don't want to buy the arrows, just go to Walmart and buy your arrows, because they're just all standard length. They might be 30 inches, and say you've got a 28-inch draw length. Now you've got 3 inches too long. You got it. You'd be 28-inch or 27-inch draw length, and you got 30-inch arrows, or 29 or whatever. So you want to get them and make sure they're right spine, because what'll happen is, if you don't have the right spined arrow, they can snap if they're too light of a spine. And if you ever get a chance to watch a slow motion video of an arrow going off, it kind of looks like a snake when they take off, and then they stabilize. And they're all designed that way. That's normal for them. And then you need to look at, there's a whole little section just in picking the right arrows and how to make sure you have the right ones of that. So just look in the description. I'll have a link into the Facebook group, and that's the Facebook group. Archery Talk is the name of it. If you can always do a search for it and join that group. And I'm just going to have a couple simple questions. Are you new to archery or not? Just so I know if you're new. If you're not new, just give me some idea, and then good email to send you that buyer's guide. So thanks for listening to me, and watch for the next one to come out. And we'll talk on a little bit later. You can always make comments if there's some specific topic you'd like me to talk about. Just let me know, and I'll put it in there. I've got some guests coming up in some of the later talks here. I've got right now, I've got 3 different people that have had a lot of different experiences in there, and we'll get them on one of these archery talks and get their views. And so leave a comment if there's anything you want me to cover. Thanks for listening to me on Archery Talk. My name is Roy Canterbury, and I'm the host today for Archery Talk.